Darkness, warmth, the muffled sound of something vast and rhythmic, like a heartbeat that isn't your own. This is all she has ever known. The inside of an egg buried 2 feet beneath the sand of a moonlit beach in the Caribbean. But something is changing. An instinct older than memory tells her it's time. Her egg tooth, a small, temporary point on her beak, scrapes against the leathery shell that had protected her for 60 days. Once, twice, a hairline crack appears, and for the first time in her existence, she tastes the outside world. Salt, sand, the faint chemical signature of the ocean she has never seen, but already knows she must reach. She pushes. The shell gives way. Around her, in the darkness of the nest chamber, her siblings are doing the same. 112 eggs were laid here by their mother 2 months ago. 97 have survived to this moment. Now, together, they begin to dig. The work is exhausting. Each hatchling, no bigger than the palm of a human hand, uses her flippers to scrape at the sand above. What falls from the ceiling is trampled down by those below, slowly raising the floor of the chamber. It's a cooperative effort that none of them plan, but all of them know how to do. Evolution has written this choreography into their DNA. It takes hours. The temperature rises as they work, and she can feel the warmth from above intensifying. Too hot. Instinct tells her this too. Never emerge in daylight. The sun will bake the sand so hot it will burn their flippers. The birds will see them. They must wait. So they do, packed together in the rising chamber, feeling the temperature fluctuate through the sand. When the coolness finally comes, evening surrendering to night, the digging resumes with renewed urgency. Finally, a flipper breaks through to the surface. She isn't the first to emerge, but she isn't the last. The night air hits her like a shock after the close warmth of the nest. Above, a 3/4 moon hangs in a sky scattered with stars. The beach stretches before her, pale sand glowing in the moonlight, and beyond it, the ocean. She has never seen it, but she knows it instantly, the way it catches the light, the sound of waves breaking against the shore, the smell of salt and life and home. Every cell in her body orients toward it like a compass finding north. She begins to crawl. Her flippers, perfect for swimming, are clumsy on land. She drags herself forward, pushing with her back flippers, pulling with her front ones. The sand is still warm from the day's sun, but cooling rapidly. Each movement is an enormous effort. The ocean looks so close, maybe 50 yards, but for a creature who measures 2 inches long and weighs less than an ounce, it might as well be 50 miles. Around her, her siblings scatter across the beach in a chaotic exodus. Some head straight for the water. Others, confused by lights from a distant hotel, crawl in the wrong direction. She doesn't think about them. There is only forward. Only the ocean. A shadow passes overhead. The frigate bird has been waiting. It has watched this beach for 3 nights, knowing the nests were ready. It drops from the sky like a stone, talons extended, and snatches up one of her siblings. Gone. Just like that. A life that lasted less than an hour ended. She keeps crawling. Another bird. Another sibling taken. Then another. The beach becomes a gauntlet, and she is simply one small creature among many, hoping that the odds favor her survival. There is no strategy, no evasion, only speed and luck and the desperate drive to reach the water. A ghost crab emerges from its burrow, claws raised. It's nearly as big as she is. It grabs a hatchling beside her, drags it backward into the sand. She crawls over the spot where her sibling vanished and keeps going. The roar of the surf grows louder. Closer. The sand beneath her flippers becomes wetter, firmer, easier to move across. She can smell the ocean spray, feel the moisture in the air. A wave rushes up the beach, and suddenly she is floating. The sensation is instant and total. Her flippers, so awkward on land, suddenly make perfect sense. She strokes once, twice, and she is flying. The water is cool and alive and right. This is what she was made for. This is home. She dives beneath a breaking wave and enters a new world. The ocean at night is not dark. Bioluminescent plankton sparkle around her like underwater stars, disturbed by her movement. She can see the pale sand of the bottom sloping away beneath her, dropping into deeper blue, then darker blue, then the black of the open ocean. She swims toward it. Behind her, on the beach, birds and crabs are still picking off her siblings. Of the 97 that hatched, only 32 will make it to the water. Of those, only a handful will survive their first year. But she doesn't know this. She only knows forward. only knows deeper. She swims through the night, her tiny flippers propelling her away from the shore. The moonlight filters down through the water in shimmering columns. Schools of small fish scatter at her approach, though she is no threat to them. She is barely a threat to the plankton she accidentally swallows. As dawn approaches, she finds herself in water, so deep she can no longer see the bottom. The open ocean, the big blue. This is where young sea turtles vanish for years, so long that scientists call it the lost years. Where they go, how they survive, is still largely a mystery, but she doesn't need to know why. She only needs to survive. She spots a line of floating sargassum, golden-brown seaweed that drifts in vast mats across the ocean. She swims toward it, guided by instinct. The sargassum is more than just shelter. It's an entire ecosystem. Small fish hide in its branches. Shrimp cling to its fronds. Crabs make their homes in its tangles. And for a tiny sea turtle, it's a cafeteria and a hiding place all at once. She tucks herself into the floating vegetation and rests. Her first day in the ocean has not yet ended, and already she is exhausted. Around her, the ocean hums with life. Bigger fish patrol the edges of the sargassum mat. A mahi-mahi flashes past, its colors electric in the early morning light. She makes herself small, staying deep in the weeds. She will live in the sargassum for months, maybe years, feeding on the tiny creatures that make their home, growing slowly but steadily. This is a gauntlet second stage, no longer the beach, but the vast and hungry ocean. And she has only just begun. Year 1. The drift time in the open ocean is measured differently. There are no days, really, only the cycle of life from above, the rhythm of feeding and hiding, the constant motion of currents that carry the sargassum mats across thousands of miles. She grows, slowly at first, an inch here, an ounce there, but growth nonetheless. Her shell, called a carapace, hardens from the soft, flexible thing it was at birth to something that can deflect the casual bite of a small predator. Her flippers strengthen. Her eyesight sharpens. She learns to hunt. At first, her diet is the smallest things. Copepods, tiny crustaceans, the larvae of fish. But as she grows, so do her prey. She learns to bite at the stalks of sargassum itself, testing to see what might be hiding there. She discovers jellyfish, and they become a favorite, soft, easy to bite, and strangely satisfying despite being mostly water. The ocean teaches her in ways that have no language. She learns which shadows mean danger, the long, sleek shape of a barracuda, the distinctive silhouette of a shark, and which are harmless. She learns to read the current, to feel when the water is about to change, to know when a storm is coming by the way the surface churns. One afternoon, when she has been alive for about 8 months, she encounters another sea turtle. He is only slightly larger than her, another juvenile drifting with a different sargassum mat. They regard each other for a moment. Two members of the same species meeting by chance in the vastness of the Atlantic. There is no communication, no recognition beyond the basic acknowledgement. You are like me. They drift apart, pulled by separate currents, and she doesn't see another turtle for 6 more months. The loneliness of the sea turtle is profound. They are not social creatures. They do not travel in groups or coordinate their hunting. Each one is an island unto itself, drifting through the blue, surviving on instinct and luck. But she doesn't know loneliness. She only knows the ocean, and the ocean is enough. Year 3. The predator by her 3rd year, she has grown to the size of a dinner plate. Her carapace is a mottled pattern of browns and greens, perfect camouflage against the sargassum. She has left the floating mats behind now, venturing into deeper waters, diving to feed on the bottom when she finds a reef or a rocky outcrop. She is no longer helpless prey. She is still small, still vulnerable, but she has mass now, strength. Her beak can crush the shells of crabs. Her flippers can propel her through the water faster than most fish her size. She has also developed a taste for jellyfish, particularly the moon jellies and Portuguese man, wars that drift through the warm Gulf Stream. Their stinging tentacles don't bother her. Her thick scales and tough esophagus are immune to their venom. She eats them methodically, biting off the bell first, then working through the tentacles like strands of living noodles. One day, while feeding on a particularly large barrel jellyfish, she notices movement in the water below her. The bull shark is not the largest predator in the ocean, but it is one of the most aggressive. This one is about 7 feet long, thick and muscular, with small, dark eyes that miss nothing. It has been tracking her for the last 10 minutes, watching the way she feeds, calculating the risk versus reward of attacking. She sees it now. Instinct screams danger. She doesn't try to fight. She doesn't freeze. She dives. Her flippers beat the water in powerful strokes as she shoots downward, heading for a nearby reef. The shark follows, faster than she is, closing the distance. She can feel the pressure wave of its approach, the displacement of water as its massive body surges forward. The reef is 50 feet away. 40, 30, the shark lunges. At the last possible moment, she tucks her head and flippers into her shell and lets gravity take her. She drops like a stone, spinning slightly, offering the shark only the smooth, hard dome of her carapace. The shark's jaws close on her shell with a force that would crush bone, but the carapace holds. The shark shakes its head, trying to get a better grip, but there's nothing to bite into. Just slick, hard shell. She hits the reef and immediately pushes herself into a crevice between two coral formations. The shark tries to follow, but it's too large. It circles, frustrated, bumping its snout against the coral, but she is wedged too tightly. After several minutes, the shark gives up and swims away in search of easier prey. She stays in the crevice for an hour, her heart pounding, before finally emerging. Her shell has deep gouges where the shark's teeth scraped across it, but the bone beneath is intact. She will carry these scars for the rest of her life. She has survived her closest brush with death since the beach. But in the ocean, there is always a next time. Year 7. The journey by her 7th year, she weighs nearly 50 pounds. Her carapace measures 2 feet from nose to tail. She is still not fully grown, but she is no longer juvenile. She is entering the awkward phase between child and adult. Too big to hide in the sargassum, not yet large enough to be truly safe from predators. Something else is changing too. A restlessness. A pull she doesn't understand but cannot ignore. She begins to swim with more purpose. No longer drifting, but traveling. She doesn't know where she is going, but her body does. Magnetic particles in her brain, tiny biological compasses, are detecting the Earth's magnetic field and steering her in a specific direction. She is returning to her feeding grounds, the place where she will spend her adult years before eventually returning to breed. The journey takes months. She swims across open ocean, following ancient migration routes that her ancestors have used for millions of years. She passes through areas of the sea she's never seen before. She crosses underwater mountains and vast abyssal plains. She swims through the Sargasso Sea, that strange region of the Atlantic where the sargassum originates, then heads south and west. Along the way, she encounters others of her kind. Some are swimming in the same direction. Others are heading elsewhere. She sees a massive loggerhead, easily 3 times her size, cruising past like a living boulder. She sees a leatherback diving into deep water, heading for the jellyfish blooms that exist in the twilight zone. She is alone, but she is also part of something larger, part of a global network of sea turtles, all following their own paths, all connected by the ocean they share. Finally, after nearly 4 months of traveling, she arrives. The feeding grounds of seagrass meadow stretches for miles, a vast underwater prairie swaying gently in the current. This is the Caribbean coast of Central America, where warm, shallow water supports some of the richest marine ecosystems in the world. She descends into the seagrass and takes her first bite. The taste is different from jellyfish, earthy, fibrous, surprisingly filling. Seagrass is tough, but her beak is strong now, and she learns quickly how to crop the blades efficiently. She will spend hours each day grazing, like a cow in an underwater field. This meadow will be her home for the next several years. She will learn every square mile of it, where the best grazing is, where the coral heads rise up from the sand, where the channels cut through that bring fresh water and nutrients from inland rivers. She will also learn the schedule of the cleaning stations. One morning, she swims to a particular coral head where she has seen other turtles gathering. She approaches cautiously, unsure of the protocol. A large green turtle is already there, hovering motionless in the water, while small fish swarm over its shell. She watches, fascinated. The fish, cleanorasses and gobies, are eating the algae and parasites that grow on the turtle's carapace. It's a symbiotic relationship. The turtle gets cleaned, the fish get fed. After the large turtle swims away, looking noticeably cleaner, she approaches the coral head. Within moments, the fish are on her, nibbling at her shell, picking at the barnacles and algae that have accumulated during her years in the open ocean. It tickles. She holds as still as she can, letting them work. When they're finished, she feels lighter, cleaner. She will return to this spot every few weeks for the rest of her life. Year 15, the threat: she is an adult now, nearly 300 pounds, with carapace over 3 feet long. She has survived storms that tore apart the seagrass meadow and scattered the fish. She has survived encounters with sharks, including a particularly aggressive tiger shark that left a permanent notch in her rear flipper. She has survived the normal hazards of ocean life, but now she faces something new, something her ancestors never had to deal with. She surfaces to breathe one morning and finds the water cloudy. It takes her a moment to realize the cloudiness is not natural, it's plastic. Thousands of plastic bags, drifting in the current like ghostly jellyfish. She has encountered plastic before. Small pieces, usually. Bottle caps, straws, bits of foam. She has learned to avoid most of it, though once she accidentally swallowed a piece of plastic wrap that she thought was a jellyfish. It passed through her system without causing harm, but she was lucky. This is different. This is a vast bloom of plastic, perhaps spilled from a cargo ship or washed out from a river after storm. The bags pulse with the current, looking disturbingly like her favorite food. Hungry and confused, she bites into one. The texture is wrong immediately, too tough, too synthetic. But by then she has already swallowed part of it. She tries to cough it up, but it's lodged in her throat. Panic rises. She can't breathe properly. She surfaces, gasping, but the plastic bag is blocking her airway. She dives again, thrashing, trying to dislodge it. Her flippers beat the water frantically. Her vision starts to dim at the edges. Then, by pure chance, the bag shifts. She manages to hook it with her beak and tear it loose. She vomits it up in a cloud of stomach acid and bits of seagrass. The plastic bag drifts away, looking as innocent as ever. She surfaces, breathing hard, her heart racing. She will be more careful after this. But the ocean is filling with plastic faster than she can learn to avoid it. Every year, 8 million tons of plastic enter the ocean. For sea turtles, it's a death sentence waiting to happen. She swims away from the plastic bloom, heading for clearer water, but she knows she will encounter it again. It is everywhere now. It is part of the ocean, as much as the salt in the fish and the current. And she is just one turtle, trying to survive in a changing world. Year 23. The turtle excluder device: she is swimming through an area she has avoided for years, a stretch of water where human fishing boats are common. She knows the danger. The nets that hang in the water like invisible walls, the long lines with their thousands of baited hooks, the trawls that scrape the bottom and catch everything in their path. But the seagrass is particularly good here, and she is hungry. She doesn't see the net until it's too late. One moment she is swimming freely. The next, she is tangled. The net wraps around her front flippers, her neck, pulls tight as she struggles. She can feel the boat above, the vibration of its engine, the terrible upward pull as the net is hauled in. Panic consumes her. She thrashes, but the net only tightens. She can't reach the surface to breathe. Her lungs are starting to burn. This is it. This is how she dies. Not to a shark or a storm, but to a piece of human technology she never understood. The net jerks upward. She is being lifted out of the water now, into the alien air, into the realm of humans. She can see the boat's hull, the faces of men looking down at her. Then, suddenly, she is falling. She hits the water hard, disoriented, but free. The net is gone. She dives immediately, instinctively, putting distance between herself and the boat. Only later, when her heart rate has slowed and she can think again, does she realize what happened. The boat had a turtle excluder device, a TED, built into the net. It's a grid with bars spaced too narrowly for turtles to pass through, with an escape opening that allows them to swim free while keeping the fish trapped. A human invention to counter a human problem. She doesn't understand this. She only knows she survived. Again. But her front left flipper is damaged. The net cut deep, and though the wound will heal, the flipper will never work quite right again. Her swimming is now slightly lopsided, a permanent limp in the water. She adjusts. Life adjusts. Year 30. The call: she is 40 years old now, though she has no concept of age. She only knows that she is strong, healthy, and that something new is stirring inside her. A pull, a need. The same magnetic sense that brought her to this feeding ground decades ago is now calling her somewhere else. Home, the beach where she was born. She hasn't thought about it since she left it as a hatchling. She has no memories of the sand, the mad scramble to the water, the siblings she never knew. but her body remembers. The Earth's magnetic field has imprinted the location in her brain like a map. She was born knowing how to read. It is time to nest. She begins swimming north, leaving the seagrass meadow behind. Other females are making the same journey, though they swim alone. In the open ocean, she passes two males. They are smaller than her, more streamlined, with longer tails. They ignore her. The mating will happen later, in the waters off the nesting beach. The journey takes weeks. She doesn't stop to feed much. Something about the nesting urge suppresses her appetite. She swims with single-minded purpose, crossing hundreds of miles of open water. Finally, she arrives at the waters off a beach she recognizes on a level deeper than conscious thought. This is the place. These are the coordinates written in her DNA. The males are waiting. The mating is brief and violent. The males compete for access to her, biting at each other's flippers, ramming shells. The winner, a large male with a scarred carapace and a piece of his left rear flipper missing, approaches her. She doesn't resist. This is why she came. The act itself is quick. He grips her shell with his front flippers, which have evolved to be longer and more curved than hers, perfect for holding on. He curls his tail beneath hers. It's over in minutes. Then he swims away, and she is alone again. She will mate with several males over the next few days, storing their sperm. When she finally lays her eggs, they will be fertilized by a mixture of fathers, ensuring genetic diversity in her offspring. But first, she must wait. Her eggs are not yet ready. She spends 2 weeks swimming in the coastal waters, feeding lightly, feeling the eggs develop inside her. When the time is right, when the moon is dark and the tide is high, she will come ashore. The return to land 40 years ago, she crawled down this beach as a hatchling, terrified and desperate, heading for the safety of the ocean. Now she is crawling up it, just as desperate, driven by an urge she cannot name. The beach at night is eerily quiet. The resort that was being built when she hatched is now complete, a sprawling complex with pools and restaurants and hundreds of rooms. Lights blaze from the buildings, casting an orange glow across the sand. She hesitates at the waterline. The lights confuse her. They're too bright, too wrong. But the urge to nest is overwhelming. She drags herself forward. Each movement is agony. Her flippers, so perfect for swimming, are terrible for this. She weighs over 300 pounds, and every inch up the beach costs her. She stops frequently to rest, breathing hard, her heart pounding. She crawls for 20 minutes before she finds a spot that feels right above the high tide line, near some sea oats. She begins to dig. The nest chamber takes an hour to excavate. She uses her rear flippers like hands, scooping sand, shaping the hole into a perfect flask shape. When it's deep enough, about 2 feet, she positions herself over it and begins to lay. The eggs come slowly, 2 or 3 at a time, soft and round, and slightly smaller than ping-pong balls. She lays 108 eggs, each one dropping gently into the chamber. She doesn't look at them. She doesn't count them. She simply lays them and then, when the urge finally passes, begins to cover the nest. She fills the chamber, patting down the sand with her rear flippers. Then she disguises it, throwing sand randomly around the area to confuse predators. The whole process takes nearly 3 hours. When she's finished, she turns and crawls back toward the water. She doesn't look back. Those eggs are not her children, not in any way she would understand. They are simply the completion of a biological imperative. Her job is done. She reaches the water as dawn begins to break. The cool ocean embraces her, and she dives deep, letting the current take her, feeling lighter than she has in weeks. Behind her, beneath 2 feet of sand, 108 eggs begin their 60-day incubation. Inside them, tiny embryos are already starting to form, and the cycle begins again. Epilogue. The ocean remembers she will return to this beach 2 more times during the nesting season, laying additional clutches. Over her lifetime, she will make 15 nesting journeys, laying over 1,000 eggs. Of those, perhaps 20 will survive to adulthood. Those 20 will spread across the ocean, each following their own path, each carrying her genes forward into the future. She doesn't know any of this. She only knows the ocean, and the ocean is vast and patient and eternal. She swims back to her feeding grounds, to the seagrass meadow that has been her home for decades. She will live there for another 10 years, grazing and swimming and surviving. She will weather more storms. She will avoid more nets. She will continue to exist in the way sea turtles have existed for over 100 million years, ancient solitary, resilient. The ocean changes, but slowly. The plastic increases. The temperature rises. The coral reefs bleach and die. But the sea turtles endure as they have always endured, carrying the memory of an ancient ocean in their blood. And somewhere on a beach lit by a three-quarter moon, a hatchling is breaking free from her egg, tasting the outside world for the first time, preparing to make the desperate crawl to the water. She doesn't know her mother. She will never meet her. But she carries her legacy, the genes, the instincts, the ancient map written in magnetic fields. She pushes through the sand, emerges under the stars, and sees the ocean for the first time. And she begins to crawl. The ocean is waiting. It is always waiting.